If you've ever looked at a pre-sale brochure in Metro Vancouver and thought that seems really cheap, I have some bad news. The number on that brochure is often wildly inaccurate. And by the time you take possession, you can easily be paying $80,000 above sticker price, and almost nobody walks you through any of it before you sign. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through every single dollar of that gap, the 7 costs that catch pre-sale buyers off guard, what each one actually costs, and how to budget for them so you don't show up at completion 50 grand short. Let's get into it. Quick note before we dive in, everything in this video comes from CRA tax rules, the BC Ministry of Finance, the Land Title and Survey Authority of BC, and what I see on a ton of pre-sale completion statements every year as a real estate agent in BC. A disclaimer, I'm not a tax pro or a lawyer. For the exact numbers on your specific deal, always talk to your accountant and your real estate lawyer. What I'm giving you is the playbook so you know what to ask them. If you haven't watched my full guide on how to buy pre-sale in BC, watch that next. The link is in the description. This video assumes you already know the process, and today we're talking dollars. Cost number 1 is GST. Every newly built home in BC has 5% federal GST added on top. Resale homes are exempt. On a $750,000 pre-sale, that is $37,500 of GST. Federal rebates do exist for some buyers, especially for first-time buyers in their principal residence. However, the rules and the thresholds shift with each federal budget. Talk to your accountant for your specific situation. For everybody else, plan on the full 5%. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't mention. Most pre-sale brochures in BC quote the base price before GST, so the $750,000 unit is actually $787,500 just for the home itself. Always confirm in writing before you sign. Cost number 2 is property transfer tax. This is the cost most YouTube videos get completely wrong. Let me give you the actual rule. BC has a newly built home exemption. If you're buying a newly built home as your principal residence and the home is 1.1 million or less, you pay 0 property transfer tax. None. It is one of the best buyer protections in this province, and it's the reason most first-time pre-sale buyers in Metro Vancouver never have to write that check. However, it comes with some conditions. Miss any of them and the full tax kicks back in. To qualify for the full exemption, you need to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, buying the home as your principal residence, under 1.1 million in fair market value. Partial exemptions phase out from 1.1 to 1.15 million on a parcel that is 0.5 hectares or smaller. And after you take possession, you have to move in within 92 days of registration at the land title office and live in it as your primary residence for the first year. Check all those boxes and your PTT bill on a $750,000 pre-sale is 0. Your lawyer or notary files exemption code 49 at closing, and the tax never gets collected. Where it does hit you is if you're buying as an investor or for rental, not as your principal residence. Full property transfer tax, roughly $13,000 on a $750,000 home, and it scales up from there. If the home is over 1.15 million in fair market value, full property transfer tax on the whole price, no exemption. If you're not a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident, full property transfer tax. And if you are a foreign buyer, there's an additional 20% property transfer tax on top of whatever the federal foreign buyer rules let you do. If you move out before the end of the first year, you have to repay a prorated portion of the exemption. For the typical first-time pre-sale buyer in Metro Vancouver living in the home, this is the cost you completely avoid. Just make sure your lawyer files the exemption. For investors and buyers over 1.15 million, this is real money and you need to plan for it from day one. Cost number 3 is legal fees and conveyancing. You need a real estate lawyer or a notary to close a pre-sale deal. There is no avoiding it. Most pre-sale completions in Metro Vancouver run $1,500 to $2,500 in legal fees. It can generally be higher than a resale closing because the paperwork is a little bit more complex. Your lawyer reviews the disclosure statement, the addendums, the strata documents, the title, the mortgage instructions, and coordinates the funds transfer between you, the developer, and your lender. If your lawyer quotes you $800 for a pre-sale closing, you might want to look elsewhere. Cost number 4 is the Strata contribution fund. This is one most people don't see coming. When the Strata corporation for your building gets registered, every owner has to contribute to its initial operating fund. This is on top of your regular monthly Strata fees. It's generally a one-time levy collected at completion. It's usually calculated as 2 months of your monthly Strata fees, sometimes more depending on the building. If your Strata fee is $500 a month, that is a $1,000 contribution. If you bought into a high-end building with a $900 Strata fee, you're looking at $1,800 plus on closing day in cash. Read your disclosure statement. It tells you exactly how much. Cost number 5, we're going to talk about adjustments at completion. This is where small numbers start to add up very quickly. At completion, the developer has already prepaid certain things on the property. Property taxes for the year, strata fees for the month, sometimes utilities. You owe them back a portion of those prepayments that covers the dates after you take possession. For Metro Vancouver pre-sale, this usually adds another $1,500 to $3,000 to your closing statement. It's predictable, it's documented in advance, and almost no first-time homebuyer remembers to budget for it. Cost number 6 are builder upgrades. The unit you walk through in the sales center a lot of the times is not the unit you are buying. What you saw is the showroom version. The upgraded cabinets, the engineered hardwood, the quartz waterfall counter, the higher end appliance package, the bigger shower glass, the soft closed drawers. Generally what you're buying with a base contract is the stripped down version, the builder standard. If you want the showroom version, you pay for the upgrades, and upgrade packages on typical Metro Vancouver pre-sales run between $20,000 and $60,000, sometimes more in luxury projects. The catch, upgrades are due on top of your deposit schedule, usually in cash before construction is done. They're not financed in your mortgage, and you're paying for them out of pocket. Decide on what you actually need versus what looks pretty nice in the showroom. A lot of buyers spend 30% more on upgrades than they should because they're emotionally attached to the showroom version. Cost number 7 are assignment fees and GST on the markup. If you buy your pre-sale on assignment, meaning you took over someone else's contract before completion, you paid 2 extra things on top of everything else. 1, an assignment fee to the developer, usually $1,500 to $5,000, sometimes higher. This is the developer's price for letting the contract change hands. 2, GST on the markup. If the original buyer signed for $700,000 and assigned the contract to you for $750,000, CRA treats that $50,000 markup as taxable. You pay 5% GST on the markup on top of the GST on the original price. This rule has been national since 2022, and it catches assignment buyers all the time, especially right now because the assignment market in Metro Vancouver is busier than it's been in years. If you're buying an assignment, run every dollar through your tax pro before you sign. There is real money at stake here. And another thing that nobody talks about, every one of these costs is in the contract the day you signed. Every single one is disclosed somewhere in the documents the developer hands you at the sales center. The reason buyers get blindsided is not because costs are hidden, it's because nobody walks them through what is in front of them before they sign. That is the entire job of a pre-sale specialist, not to find you the unit, but to make sure you know exactly what completion looks like in dollars before you put pen to paper. So let me show you what a $750,000 pre-sale actually costs. The sticker price is $750,000. GST at 5% is $37,500, running a total of $787,500. Property transfer tax, $13,000, eliminated for principal resident buyers who qualify for the newly built home exemption under 1.1 million. Legal fees, $2,000. Strata contribution fund, $1,500. Closing adjustments, $2,500. An upgrade package, maybe another $25,000. Worst case real total, about $831,500, about $82,000 above the sticker. If you qualify for the property transfer tax exemption, the $13,000 comes off. If you also qualify for a federal GST rebate as a first-time buyer, that line drops too. For the right buyer profile, the real number gets closer to high 700s. So talk to your accountant about which rebates apply to you because the rules shift with each budget. The reason most people show up short at completion day is they didn't run their own scenario before they signed. That is what your specialist is for. If you want the full hidden cost checklist for Metro Vancouver pre-sales, comment costs in the comments and my team will send it your way. It is the exact line item breakdown I run for every client before they sign. If you're looking for a specific pre-sale right now and you want me to walk through the contract with you, your numbers, your timeline, the developer, the upgrade list, you can book a one-on-one call with me. The link is in the description. Again, my name's Dan J. Reilly. I'm a realtor in the Lower Mainland. I help buyers, sellers, and investors in Metro Vancouver win the pre-sale game and the new construction game. If you've not watched my full how to buy a pre-sale guide yet, that is the next thing you should watch. Link is in the description and pinned to the comments below. My next video is pre-sale versus resale and which one is actually the smarter play in this market. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and I'll see you in the next one.